Lovely. There's a little place. Oh, God, it dives. God, it's me. Brakes are fierce, but wow, doesn't it dive? Right, good morning, my lovely friends, or should I say bonjour, from a very foggy Périgueux in France. So, what am I doing today? Well, I'm on a bike that I've been wanting to ride for ages. And if you saw one of my earlier videos back in July, where I did a sort of walk around chat about this bike, you'll know exactly what I'm on. So today I'm on the Rieju, or Rieju, 500 Adventure. And the reason I wanted to get on this bike, because it has this amazing party piece, which is the twin tanks. Because this little puppy can take 40 litres, 20 in the front and 20 in the tank under the seat, which is rather amazing. So I thought we'd go and have a look at the bike like we normally do, and show you why I like it so much, because it's also a very, very pretty bike. Very pretty. And it's got gold wheels, and that's always a good thing. So I thought we're going to have a look at it, and then we're going to do some riding and give you my my thoughts on it, and why I like it so much. Because I tell you, riding this bike has been really nice. It's a lovely bike. Right, let's go and have a look. Right, so here we are, the Rieju 500 Adventure. I think that's how you say it, Rieju. So Rieju is a Spanish brand, and obviously the bike's not made in Spain, they're made in China. But this is a bike that came out sort of a lot earlier than the big raft of Chinese bikes we're seeing in the UK now. I think this is a 2021 originally. But the origins of this bike, there's a lot of Lontzin in here. It's a Lontzin engine, which is essentially a direct copy of the CB500, the Honda engine. So it's none the worse for that, because that Honda engine is a great engine. But it does run a little bit lower power than that. I think this is around sort of 47 horsepower. The Honda's just over 50, isn't it? About 53, 56, something like that. So. But what this does gain over the Honda, you know, the link between the two sort of ends there. I just think the styling of this is really lovely. It's got a better look than all those other bikes that I've seen, and it's quite distinct. And I think the reason for that is for this twin tank arrangement, because the party piece of this bike, as you know, is if you've got 20 litres here and 20 litres here. So you've got 40 litres of fuel in this bike. You know, obviously once you're fully loaded with fuel, I've only got fuel in one tank on this bike on the front. But obviously once you're fully loaded, you're going to notice it. You know, 40 litres is, you know, you hold two 20-litre cans of fuel, you know that's quite heavy. So, but what it does give you, it gives you incredible range, doesn't it? Because this is going to be pushing out maybe sort of 70, 80 miles to the gallon. So, you know, you've got quite an impressive range, you know, a good sort of 600 miles on this bike. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, 40 litres is very similar to a car at the end of the day. You know, you're nearly at 9 gallon, which is pretty good, isn't it? On a bike, which is a relatively small package. I mean, when you sit on this bike, it looks really big to start with. And I thought, wow, because I haven't actually been on an adventure bike since my Honda. But when I actually sat on this bike, you know, it doesn't feel that dissimilar to the Honda. But what I really like about it is this: you've got a nice frontal area, and I'll show you the dash in a sec. But the nice frontal area on the bike. The seat's relatively hard, but then my Honda was quite hard. But it's got quite a nice upright position. One thing I did notice though, that I thought that it's funny, the brake lever feels longer than the clutch lever. Where I got my hand on the clutch, it feels like I'm sort of at the end, at the ball end of it, which is quite interesting. Although they're not, the lever's not set very well because one's down and one's up, so it would need to be set properly. But that probably makes a slight difference. But your actual view from the front, and I'll show you the dash. So you've got this fantastic, really well lit dash in front of you, which has got the speed, the revs in there. But what you've also got is this really cool twin fuel tank measure on the side, which is so really sort of, I don't know, I like that. You've got, so you can see how much fuel is in each tank, and you have this system where you've got a button on here, which I think actually changes I think all that does is changes the readout on the dash, I think, to show you when you're in that mode, because you've also got the main switch here, which is a sort of petrol, if you like, to switch tanks. So you have all that. You've also got your USB down here, so it's USB 2. You've actually got 2 of those in there, which is nice. You've got fully adjustable suspension at the front for damping and preload, which is really, really nice. Also at the front here, we've got these lovely hand guards, which are really nice. You've got the screen, which seems to be good. It's well fitted. You've also got backlit switch gear again, which is you know, it's something I don't know why other manufacturers aren't doing that. You know, it can't be that difficult, can it, to do backlit switch guards, switch gear, which I think is a must. I mean, I would have loved to have had that when I was riding, you know, from where did I come from? From Dieppe that morning. I had 4 hours in pitch black. You know, you should really know what all your switches are doing, I suppose, by touch, but it's a nice feature to have, isn't it, really? Really nice. Foot position wise, so I'm 5'11", and I think I've got a 31-inch inseam, I'm going to say, whatever that means. But I'm okay. I'm okay. It's not, it doesn't feel too, it feels very similar to the Honda. I would say it's a little bit taller than the CV500 that I had. But it's a good, you feel like you've got plenty of bike here. You've got plenty of bike. One thing I will say, and this is in common, particularly if you own early Himalayans and stuff, the side stand's quite upright, which is just a bit of a nuisance, really. It means you have to be slightly, you know, careful getting on and off bikes like this, don't you? And particularly if you're loaded up, because as you start to load up, the bike will start to go even further forward. So if you've got panniers and rear racks and a little bit of luggage on here, as the suspension dips, it's going to start to tip up slightly. So be aware of that. I think this is another thing where this is right for getting an angle grinder and taking the side stand down a little bit. But it also comes with a centre stand, which is really nice. But overall, I just think the bike looks damn good in the red and the gold wheels. Doesn't that look bloody cool? Doesn't it look cool? Nice for peeling as well, because you've got a decent pad on here. It's not too small. And you've got the rear rack as well, and that's metal. You've got front crash protection. This is a bike that comes fully loaded. You know, you don't have to spec this up. This will come fully loaded, which I think is really, really nice. Right, let's go for a ride. So it's like for a slow turning as I get out of here. God, it was so misty this morning. It's nice. It's really, I like this bike a lot. Interesting though, that clutch. Nobody ever seems to adjust clutches properly, do they, on new bikes? They always have them sort of by a long way down. I always end up having to adjust the clutch. I always like my clutch to be sort of towards the end, not at the beginning. Do you know, it's very smooth. I'm going to put my lid down. It's very smooth, but you've got this nice gear indicator on here. That screen is so lovely and clear with the white background. But I'm already in top. You're going to have to work out the kilometres here. 73 kilometres an hour in 6th. And I feel like that engine is really, really fine. I don't want to say precise, but it's very fine. It feels like it's a bit like a sewing machine. It's really lovely. But I feel like I need another gear. So it is, I would say it's quite geared to off-road, you know. So, you know, I'm not even doing 50. What's the mileage on this bike? We've got about 2,000 kilometres on it. So, you know, it's got a reasonable bit of mileage on there. Might be slightly tiring on a long tour. But I think if you're riding in somewhere like this sort of bike you'd like to be in Morocco on, I'd like to do Morocco on this. Because with that range, you know, you're never going to run out of petrol. Not that you tend to run out of petrol in Morocco because there's petrol everywhere. But it's just nice. You haven't got to worry. If you're going to do a long tour through Europe, you know, northern France. You know the trouble I had in northern France trying to get fuel. You know, this is going to get to hell and back, isn't it? This thing, goodness me. You know, it really is. Oh, it's lovely with the sun out. It's got a nice sort of swing to it. I've had bikes like this before where you get that nice sort of pendulum effect on these bikes, where it's really, do you know what I mean? It just works with you. It doesn't work against you, and I think that's a nice thing, isn't it? I've had bikes that, you know, you've got to sort of wrestle. This isn't one of those. Avoid these cars. Got a nice sound. The engine's got a nice sound. Do you know, it does remind me quite a lot about my CB500. It's got a little bit of that about it. That bike had the Scorpion exhaust on it, and this has got a very similar sort of sound, not quite as deep and throaty. Again, I'm in 6 already, so, you know, we are, I think that might get slightly tiresome for me if I was going to use it on a long tour. But the actual, you know, the actual position of the bar, and I've got that thing again where I've got a lot of bike in front of me, and I like that. I can see some on my bike, and I feel quite protected by it. You know, it shares a lot of that influence from those sort of bikes. You know, the Honda, and there's probably some other bits in here really, but you know, we know Lonsin are producing good engines. They're making engines for BMW. I think the F800 is a Lonsin engine. So, you know, it's a well-proven engine, and a lot of these Chinese manufacturers did go down the route of just basically copying a proven engine, so, you know, people know what you've got. Just better do one, and I really feel lovely. There's a little place. Oh God, it dives. God, it's me. Brakes are fierce, but wow, doesn't it dive? Yeah, a lot of dive on that front. I sort of don't, do you know what I mean? I don't mind that. I think it just shows, it can catch you unawares though if you're not careful. I think what it shows though is that its suspension is really set up for off-road. And I never understood why a lot of these other bikes don't give you that nice supple suspension, because you can, you know, it just gives you a nicer ride, doesn't it, at the end of the day? I thought I knew where I was going. Oh, look, it's the Tartare sauce factory. So I've got a lot of, I have got switchable riding options on here. I've got off-road, on-road, which is nice. The switch gear is pretty good. It's got mode set select, which is good. I can switch the ABS off as well. I've got an ABS button on there. So, you know, it's got all the features that you'd expect. On typical on a bike, these sort of Chinese bikes are this kind of spec. You know, it's got a lot on it. This road's quite lumpy. And as I say, I can adjust the suspension here, put it even lighter. Let's just have a look at that dive again on the front, because that's quite severe. But it's not a wet bit of road. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see how much? I don't know if the camera's going to wipe that out. But yeah, it does dive quite a bit. Something you've got to get used to or adjust to your liking. This is a bit of road I want. There you go. Nice Frenchman just coming across me there. That's always good. God, it so sounds like my old Honda. But I like the running position. I think the seat's quite hard. That might get slightly wearing after a while. It's a dog bed kind of bike, isn't it? But I just like the layout and the feel of it. And the actual suspension itself, it's not teeth shattering like I've had on other bikes. And I think with that fuel range and the bits, it just feels like a really nice bike. Gearbox is okay, it's pretty positive. I wouldn't say it's particularly clunky. It's not slick smooth like a Honda, but it's smooth enough. I'm not getting any forced neutrals or anything like that. You know, I'm quite happy with that. Steering wise, it's got a lovely turn, and it moves into a corner really nicely. Way better than a lot of bikes. It's not fighting you, like I said earlier. The controls and the switch gear all seem very good. Suspension I'm happy with, and because you've got so much adjustment on it, you know, it can dive like I showed you. And I think that's something you could dial out a little bit if you wanted to. But the actual power of the engine and the torque is excellent. You know, I know it's a little bit down on power compared to, say, the Honda in this category, but it's none the worse for that, I'll tell you. He got a lot of movement in there. I'm on a hill now, so it should be interesting what it's like in pulling around on this quite sharp hill. Never been up here before. This would be interesting. Try not to stall it, Paul. But the overall feel of it, I'm really enjoying it. Really enjoying this bike. It's got a nice. I've just got that. It's a nice proportion for me, and I like that. Yeah, pull away. See, I mean, this is really steep, this hill. It's not struggling at all. God, it's so reminiscent of my Honda, the sound. Feels like I'm on my Honda a little bit. It's not the, if you remember the Qjin SRT 600 that I took out, that is a better engine, I thought, or it just works slightly better. It's a bit more refined than this. This doesn't feel quite as refined as that Qjin motor, where I was absolutely blown away by that bike. This is still really good. Still really good. You wouldn't be disappointed in it, put it that way. What's it like around a slow roundabout? Is it nice and controllable? Yeah, just about. Switchgear is great. Switchgear is really good. I've been on bikes where the switchgear was such a letdown because it was just sloppy and horrible, and this really isn't like that at all. This is really nice. But God, I love that dash. I absolutely love the dash. Right, in conclusion then, the Rieju 500 Adventure. What do I actually think about it? Well, do you know what? I think it's actually awesome. I think it's a really bike. It's sort of what I expected, and a little bit more really. I just think it rides nicely. I think it looks superb. You know, the dash is really good. I love the dash on this. I think the twin tanks thing is such a it's just a quirky, different thing on any bike these days. And I think you've got to have a USP, haven't you? Because the market is just swamped in bikes these days. I just think it's got to have its own little unique tick, and I think this does. I think those, you know, to have 40 litres. The other thing is, when you've got that capacity, when you're touring, you know, you're doing like a big camping and touring thing, you've also got a fuel source. Do you know what I mean? You know, if you need to, you know, any other fuel, or for a fuel for anything, you've got another fuel source with you carrying it. So you don't use it in the tank, you know, use it for whatever. You know, helping out a colleague, you know, siphoning a bit of fuel out. You're like carrying the fuel for an entire tour group. So there you are. That's the Rieju and its quirky twin tanks. What a fantastic bike! Love it, absolutely love it. You know, I think it's a really nice piece of kit.